blind babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe, people subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go, it's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the old man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 rows to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die, you voted and you'll die. You can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather, I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double, but nature gets the shit in a way that's subtle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ad, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. All they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more.
Yes. So they manifest the war, right? They want war. All they really wanting is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. That's right. And that smaller group of people, including Donald Trump, they're willing to do almost anything to create chaos so they can get what they want in the end. And it is not what MAGA thinks it is. You know, that's what a diversionary tactic is. You know, when you use a theme of a group, it's very Machiavellian, by the way, to, you know, latch on to a theme, to some feeling or pulse in the society and claim to champion it only for your own purpose. And you got to figure out for yourself what's really behind it. Is it really the people's movement, or is it something else? And people find out every day that it's something else. And that's not just in the United States. People find out every day around the world that, you know, sometimes it is something else. Nothing but the greedy ones who manifest a lot of suffering anyway, who hedge both sides. They hedge their bets. And in this case, it turned out to be MAGA, and very, very unfortunate for people in general. Frustrated people, very unfortunate for frustrated people. But in any case, back on it again. Today is, wow, you know, time's moving by. It's the 8th over here in the EU, 8th of October, 2025. And in some places in the world, it's still the 7th of October. You know, I'm sure it's early in the morning in some places and middle of the night or late night in others. But wherever you are, I hope everybody's doing well. Now, check this out. I have to say, I told you so. And yes, every once in a while, a brother does, do some breaking news that nobody else is covering, and people catch on to it late. And yes, I do believe if you scroll through these YouTube podcasting streets and you look at the left or the right, but if you look at the left, because I would definitely say I'm more I'm on the left for sure. If you look on the left through podcasting, you will see I must have dropped the bomb. I think I was the first to release the news and drop the news that, yo, listen, these ICE people ain't getting paid that's invading your city. They did not get a paycheck. See, when you think with your heart and you think with your emotions, a lot of times you get the short end of the stick. So for the people out there that are tired of MAGA, people out there that's tired of ICE, people out there that's tired of this president sending the National Guard to your town, threatening American citizens, yes, taking a gun that you paid for with your tax money and having it pointed at you. People that are tired of that bullshit, you should celebrate for the moment and knowing you can look them in their face and ask, how your kids doing? How's your family eating? When do you think this shutdown is going to end so you can get your paycheck? How does it feel to work for free? Like straight up, they're not getting paid. And the people that sent them out there, they knew that. They knew that already, but they just didn't give a damn about them because they're nothing but pawns in the elitist game. Yes, those same people that sex trafficked those little girls, you're just a pawn in their game. Just another hoe. You see? Just someone else, another body to be used and like a piece of toilet paper to wipe the ass of the elitists. That is what you are, ICE. That is what you are, National Guard. That's what you've been turned into. And if the military want to get involved, that is what they will be too. No, you don't get paid because you're not in that class bracket. You see, you're essential, but you're not essential. You're important, but you ain't important. You work for the government, but you ain't Donald Trump government. You ain't Pam Bondi government. You ain't Cash Patel government, and you ain't even down there on Caroline Levitt government level. She gets paid. You don't get paid. And for the MAGA people that's out there and that want to try to escape the moment due to their tomfoolery, how foolish they are, you are paying for Hakeem Jeffries' dinner right now because he still gets paid. You are, MAGA, paying for Schumer's dinner right now. In fact, you're paying for all the congressional members' dinner. Whether you like them or not, you don't have a choice because that's just who you are in the scheme of things. Better get it straight or you're going to get it backwards in the short end of the stick every goddamn time. And hopefully, if you got some brains, you will get tired of getting the short end of the stick. But yo, we got to tell you, all people definitely do not get tired of getting the short end of the stick. Some of y'all will come back later again and vote out of hate for somebody instead of vote out of love for yourself and your family. Some of you still going to do this. Some of you are going to be so hateful that you're going to be worried about someone who's sweeping a floor somewhere just trying to survive, right? Then you're going to be more worried about them than you're worried about can you afford health care yourself. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Okay, now check this out. Here we go. Sorry if I'm a little late today, though, too. I've been late this week. I'll get it together. But check this out. The Missouri Guards and troops assigned to duty with ICE workers, with ICE working without, with ICE are working without pay. Now, there's articles about ICE right now. Yeah, I'm not going to just leave out ICE, but this is one article. This is just posted on the 6th. So this National Guard that Trump is out there bragging about sending and this fool ass governor in Texas that's so proud to send send troops using guns paid by all the American taxpayers across the country. This stupid ass governor just so happy to send his National Guard, or think about it, to Chicago. Guess what? They ain't getting paid. So this is how you treat your people. This is a sign of who you are and your leadership, how you treat your people. They knew it. See, you didn't get this news from the governor of Texas. You didn't get this news from the White House press secretary. She just irked it out herself late in the game. These people ain't been getting paid since since midnight September 29th, and they knew it, and they didn't even have a nerve to tell the public, because that's how foul these people mother effing are in real life. Yes, to them, you ain't shit. That's just what it is. And they can get away with it all the time. And they do. They do. Now, I told you on October 1st, I told everybody, I said, it looked like people are focusing on the wrong things here. There was a lot to focus on, though. Don't get me wrong. People were focusing on the right things, the left. But goddamn, there were so many things. And it just popped in my head. And I said, wait a second. Do these MFers even get paid during a shutdown? And lo and behold, they don't. And I did that like 3-4 days ago. I must have done it on October 2nd, actually, in one of the other streams. The last 2 or 3 streams I've been talking about this. But go check it. By the way, check out and listen to the last 2 or 3 streams or 4 streams if you haven't. Oh, and by the way, like and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Like the video so it gets out to more people. But in any case, yes, I have. And here is the goodies. Finally, after a week, on the 8th, 8 days later, 7 days later, they finally had the nerve to start telling people. I'm talking about the White House. Oh, it wasn't even the White House, I don't believe. Was it the White House first? I think it was on the 7th. I think it was both. I think it's the White House, and I think it's Pam Bondi. It slipped out of her mouth. They're finally complaining because she's in the hearings, But they weren't talking about this on the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, So here, let's take a read on this one. Let's see here. Okay, here we go. Now, State Senate Democrat leader Doug Beck, Governor Clough should not, says Governor Clough or Kehoe, is that the guy's name in Texas? Kehoe? State Senate Democratic leader Doug Beck says Governor Kehoe should not have authorized a deployment just hours before the federal shutdown. Now, I understand that logic. Like, damn, federal shutdown coming? What should I do? I know what I'll do. I'll send my National Guard out to another state. That sounds stupid, right? But yes, he did it. Governor Mike Kehoe's decision to deploy Missouri National Guard soldiers to support immigrant enforcement makes no sense because they will not get paid until the federal government shutdown is resolved. For people that don't know, a federal government shutdown can last indefinitely. Can you spell indefinitely? Because you're going to need to, because goddamn, indefinitely is a long time. It's a very important word to understand, meaning there is no rush, meaning there is no law that can force anyone to do it faster. It can be indefinite. That means until the Republicans and the Democrats come up with something they agree on. Yes, that's what that means. You need a supermajority, not just 51 votes, right? And that's even ended because, in light of all of this stuff, MAGA Mike Johnson is scared. They've been scared for weeks and weeks and weeks now, just about swearing in the newly elected Arizona congressional member, who's going to vote, who's going to be the 218th vote on the discharge petition for Jeffrey Epstein, so that they just went around everyone else and said, now they're going to have a vote just on that alone. And they can't do it until they get the 218 signatures. So they got 217. Now they're going to have 218 once MAGA Mike Johnson decides he wants to swear in this congressional woman, but he's been delaying. But in any case, nonetheless, Until this shit is resolved, they don't get paid. And that's what the state Senate's Democratic leader said on Thursday. Now, let's see here. Let's go ahead. It says on Tuesday, Kihu announced that the soldiers from the Guard would, on a volunteer basis, be assigned to provide administrative, clerical, and logistical support for immigration and customs enforcement processing facilities in the state. Okay, let's see what else. There's another article. Let me see. Is it coming forward? Okay, here we go. The shutdown started a few hours. Damn, did I go too fast? There we go. The shutdown started a few hours after Kihu announced the deployment. Everyone knew that it was coming, and to me, that makes no sense. Yeah, does it make sense to you? If you would do that, if you think that makes sense, put a 1 in the chat. If you don't, put a 2 in the chat. Spokeswoman Gabby Picard said that there will be up to 15 soldiers on duty at any particular time until authorization ends on September 30th. ICE continues to work while most of the government is shut down because the budget bill approved in July funded the agency with $29.9 billion for enforcement and $5 billion for detention through September. Okay, so they were partially pre-funded, I guess, through September. So that's through this month, right? Okay, now let me see here. So that means, yeah, that's through September. Damn, so that money's gone, yo. That's damn. That's just for the detention budget funded. Okay, you see? So they were funded early in July. So how long does that $29.9 billion go? I don't think it goes past that. You know, they from what I hear, they've been spending money like no one's ever spent before. But let's see here. When on federal deployment, members of the Guard are paid on the same schedule as active duty personnel, with the next pay date being October 15th. No active duty military will receive pay until the shutdown is resolved. Okay, so that next payment is on the 15th. Okay, so the 15th is a good day. That's what is that? That's 7 days from now, right? So let's see here. The Tuesday news release said Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth approved assigning Guard personnel to ICE facilities on July 25th, allowing them. Okay, so let's go on. Is there more to this? Okay, there we go. Allowing them. What does that say? Allowing them to be paid from the federal treasury. The Missouri National Guard is uniquely equipped to provide this essential administrative support, and we are confident their contributions will be invaluable on immigration enforcement efforts, Kihu said in a news release. While all soldiers taking on duty are doing so as volunteers, they're expected to get paid. Okay. Put a 1 in the chat if you think that that's a good decision. Put a 2 in the chat if you think that's not a good decision. Better way, put a 1 in the chat if you would send troops out without being paid, and put a 2 in the chat if you wouldn't. Just curious about, what people think about this. When I first heard it, I was like, oh, wow, this is ridiculous, but then again, I was like, but this is the Republicans right now. This is MAGA. The MAGA movement generally is not a detailed movement. They move with a lot of, explosive things, pow, pow, but it's not a lot of well planned out, comprehensive movements by MAGA yet. OK, let me see here. I'm sure when they did this, they didn't know that they'd be doing it possibly for free for a while. Yeah. And would you do it for free? And would you care? Would you volunteer for free to do this? Or would you only do it if you're paid money? I'm assuming they'd be made whole at some point, but I'm sure they got bills, right? So this type of shutdown, it does hurt people. Now, they all don't get paid on the same schedule. I don't think. Some of them, it says certain ones do, right? I don't know if the FBI gets paid on the same schedule as the troops, right, and ICE. But in any case, some of them do, some of them don't. But okay, let's go to the next part and see here. Okay, planning for this activation has been ongoing for weeks and has nothing to do with the unfortunate political games of the Democrats in Washington that have caused the government shutdown. Picard said, yeah, exactly, because, you know, everybody has a different job to do and everybody gets paid differently, because you're a different part of this. Some people are pawns, other people still get a check and their check is guaranteed. So let's see here. Donald Trump's check is guaranteed. He's still at work. MAGA Mike Johnson's check is guaranteed. He's still at work. Schumer's check is guaranteed. He's at work. Well, MAGA Mike Johnson, I don't know. The rest of he told the Republicans to go home until next week. So the Republican Congress is not at work, but everybody else is at work because you get paid. The shutdown doesn't affect these kind of federal workers, those kind of essential workers, right? Hakeem Jeffries, he's at work. He still gets a check, right? So no matter what, they get checks, regardless of whether you like their politics or not. And the taxpayer, no matter what, no matter if they like their politics or not, is the one who guarantees them that pay. And it comes out of your check, too, if you're lucky enough to have a job. But as far as the, ICE people, as far as the National Guard, their pay is not guaranteed. Let's go on. And, Trump, he's even threatening to shut even more people's, he's cutting off more people than this. You'd be surprised. You would think Trump would say, wow, people should get back pay, the rest. But he's now saying people that went out already and did work for free, that it didn't get paid yet because it's already happened to some, that they won't even get back pay. That's what Trump is arguing for. And I guess he's doing that based on his quote unquote DEI. I don't know, but that's just breaking yesterday. That's just a comment that came out in the news from is it the OMB, Department of OMB, or is it OME? I think it's OME, right? The ones who are actually supposed to be handling this kind of stuff, deciding what the spending is. But let's see here from his side. But let's see here. What else does it say? Lenny Jones, vice president and state director at the Service Employees International Union Healthcare, said in a news release that the deployment is part of an increasingly authoritarian government. Okay, this is just another power grab used to silence and intimidate people who disagree with the administration's anti-American policies. Jones said the ACLU said the deployment diverts resources from disaster recovery and other needs. Right. I noticed MAGA has been kind of anti-disaster recovery. They don't think money should be guaranteed for that. That's something Trump ran on, closing down FEMA. But this kind of stuff, he's got money for it, though. But, you also, since you're a politician and since, MAGA relies on politicians, you would think their politicians would know that a monkey wrench could get thrown in there if they don't kind of work with the other side, because although they have had a lot of support in the election, they didn't have that much to where you have a supermajority, and it takes a supermajority to, do these kind of things. Unfortunately, that's how the rules have always been. It's been that way for Democrats too. You've seen Republicans shut the government down. I think you've seen it something like in the last two administrations, 8 years, I believe. So let's see here. National Guard troops should be reserved for genuine emergencies, blah, blah, blah. But this is just opinionated. Everyone doesn't share that opinion. So let's go on to the next one. Here's another one. Will ICE agents detain immigrants during the government shutdown? Here's what we know. This is October 1st. Let's see here. Immigration enforcement efforts will continue during the government shutdown. I'm sure a lot of MAGA people are happy about that. Yay! That began Wednesday, although agents will be working without pay. Boo! Actually, I'm happy about it. I say, yay! Work without pay, because again, you take, you abuse power. you treat American citizens, and it doesn't matter if you treated one American citizen poorly, fuck you. You deserve to be shut down. It means you don't know what the fuck you're doing. It's an insult to being a United States citizen. Don't you know when you travel the world with a US passport, you get treated pretty well? They just diminished what that passport means, what it is to be an American. They made it to, it don't mean shit. We can just throw it, lock your ass up and send you to Costa Rica too. That's what it turned into, so fuck ICE, and fuck anybody down with them. And, yeah, that's how I look at it. I'm glad they don't get paid. And I pray the shutdown continues. I pray the shutdown continues. I want the shutdown to continue just long enough or longer, just long enough so some of these people can have hard times in their families. You see what I'm saying? That's what I want. That's what I think. I think it needs to be a real moment here about how you treat people. You should be treated how you treat people, and like you ain't shit, So I think that message needs to go out to these folks that have been so eager to hurt and harm and malign others, scare community members, put people in fear. These people that raided that Chicago apartment building, fuck you. I'm so happy you ain't getting paid, pawn. You see? Yeah. Let me see here. Yeah, they're working without pay since the first, y'all. Since the first, they went out there real fast, and now the air's about to flatten their tires. The inability of Congress to agree on a funding bill means employees in many government positions will be furloughed, but essential services, including border and immigration, furloughed means stopped, fired. But look, but essential services, including border and immigration, essential services, including border and immigration enforcement, will remain operational. Guess what? You have to go to work still, even though what? During the government shutdown, there's no change to immigration laws or border enforcement. Officials with immigration and customs enforcement posted on Sunday, but they do not get paid. That is crazy. Rumors that a U.S. government shutdown. See, people got confused. There's two types of essential workers. Essential workers like Hakeem Jeffries, MAGA Mike Johnson, Donald Trump, Caroline Levitt. They're essential workers, but they still get paid during the shutdown. ICE employees, FBI employees, National Guard, military, you're essential, but you don't get paid during the shutdown. You have to wait for for them to agree and end the shutdown, then you get your back money. But Trump is already out there trying to figure out ways to not give people some back money. Straight up. I'm telling you, All right. There were some rumors that went out. Rumors that a U.S. government shutdown will allow immigrants to enter the United States are false. So people that are trying to use that as a talking point to say, boo, see, I told you Democrats are for illegal immigrants. No, me myself, I'm definitely not for any type of illegal immigrant. I'm an immigrant myself in a foreign country, and I have to actually follow the laws or I get kicked out too. You see what I mean? Now some laws are different than others. Some are more severe than others, but you mess around with too many mistakes, you can be kicked out, And so I'm for that kind of stuff in the U.S. But at the same time, I'm for treating people humanely, right? And I'm also not for being a bigot about it. I don't care where somebody is from. I think people are people, and people, bring something to the society that's needed. That's what I think. I think the real fault is in the fact that the United States politicized immigration instead of doing what other Western countries already did. Just like they politicized healthcare, instead of doing what other countries already did. Just like they politicize a lot of unions and all kinds of shit, talk about socialism, socialism. There's no socialism in the Western world. There's just unions and people getting paid a fair wage to do a fair day's work. That's not socialism. That's just called fairness. Okay, that's just called being able to pay your bills after you come home from work, but the United States has found a way to twist everything. This is some funny stuff here. So no, U.S. immigration laws and enforcement efforts remain unchanged. Border security and efforts remain strict, and crossing the border without authorization remains a crime. So they just, many of them just aren't going to get paid until their lawmakers, right, which are Republican and Democrats. The Republicans can go into session. By the way, you can't end a shutdown if you don't go into session, y'all. I don't know if you understand that. MAGA Mike Johnson took Congress out of session, so, and sent them home. So I don't know if you like that he did that, but that's on Republicans to decide if they think that helps the situation. How does the government shutdown affect ICE? In preparation for the shutdown, Department of Homeland Security officials released a contingency plan Saturday stating that out of ICE, approximately 21,000 employees, more than 19,600 will remain active. The shutdown, however, means they will work. Okay, so they fired some people. It looks like they furloughed some people, about 1,000 people, right? 2,000 people got furloughed roughly, or 1,500, 1,400 got furloughed. However, it means they will work without pay until the funding stalemate is resolved. Now, look, so this is from ICE, Department of Homeland Security. It's just interesting how legacy media didn't talk about that in the beginning. It's interesting how in the podcasting cycle that wasn't really talked about a lot. And I know this for a fact because a lot of the people that come in the chat here, they made comments where they couldn't believe it. When I said they don't get paid, they were like, nah, they get paid. They get paid, man. Stop using Chat GDP. That's what the people told me, a lot of people. But no, you see, I said Chat GDP only pulls, it's pulling the information from the same sources I'm using anyway, because I only use official sources, But folks didn't understand that. Well, here's your answer now. Here's some more qualified information. This is from the Houston Chronicle, of course, but they're quoting the Department of Homeland Security. So the shutdown, however, means that they will work without pay until the funding stalemate is resolved. They will receive back pay when the shutdown ends. Okay. DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, her dumbass, took to social media Wednesday to politicize the shutdown and blame Democrats. Oh, no, you didn't, Kristi Noem. No, you didn't. Although Republicans hold the majority in both chambers in Congress. Exactly. They can be in session talking to the American people through CNN, through C-SPAN, through everybody holding hearings, having a vote. They could be begging the Democrats to come. They could be saying, hey, let's make a deal on this. You want this, this, and this. We understand American people seem to also agree with you. Even some of our MAGA voters agree with you that they don't want to pay double medical fees, for health care. We get that now. Let's make a deal. But that's not what they're saying. MAGA Mike Johnson said, fuck y'all. Trump even said, fuck the Democrats. And MAGA Mike Johnson was like, yeah, don't talk to, I'm his stooge. So everybody that's in the Republican Party, even though you get paid during this shutdown, you get paid, just go home. We'll go out of session until, and we'll just blame the Democrats. We won't even call for any changes. That's what happened, Let's see here. Right. Kristi Noem, Wednesday, to politicize the shutdown to blame the Democrats, although Republicans had the majority. Okay, what does she say? Our DHS government law enforcement officers will continue to work throughout the Democrats' shutdown to make sure our homeland is safe and secure. And they would They did when the Republicans had a shutdown, and all the other 8 times in a row the Republicans had a shutdown. All these people had to do the same thing. This is not new law. This is just U.S. law. Yeah, how she didn't know that is crazy, I guess. But more than 200,000 of these patriots, 200,000 of these patriots will go without pay. The Democrats will be forcing over 150 officers and nearly 50 members of the military, our front line of defense, to do what? To continue protecting our nation without pay. Yes, and it's happened before. It wasn't by the Democrats, but it happened before, and you know that doesn't seem to be an issue, right? They survived. I guess we could say that, right? They survived. But what about all the other American families and their health care? Will they be able to afford health care? Christy Nome, are you okay with that, Christy Nome, or are they just nobody to you? I mean, by the way, y'all, you should notice that whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, Christy Nome still gets paid her check. She's still getting paid. She's an essential. She's not just an essential like the people that don't get paid during the shutdown but have to work. See, so, there's no pressure on her to get anything right. Are visa applications still processed during the shutdown? The U.S. Citizen and Immigration Services, the arm of the DHS that processes visas and oversees legal migration, will also continue to operate according to the memo. Out of more than 22,400 employees, the agency will keep more than 21,500 working. Fee collections at the agency will also continue. Oh, that's why they collecting those fees. I wonder if they make more money than they cost to operate. In the days leading up to the shutdown, border and immigration enforcement operations show no signs of slowing. Federal officers were deployed in Chicago as part of the Trump administration's targeting of democratically controlled cities amid what he said is an immigration crisis. Detention operations also continued in Texas, which leads the country in the number of immigrants currently held in confinement. And I believe one location actually closed down, y'all. It's coming, not in this article, but it's in another article. But let me see this. This was, okay. Now let's see here. As of September 15th, there were more than 13,400 immigrants detained in Texas facilities, according to the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse, a TRAC at Syracuse University. Okay, let's see here. Or TRAC, okay, at Syracuse. Okay, that's New York, Syracuse. So let's see here. Okay, so that was that one. Now let me see here. What's the next one real quick before we get into Pam Bondi's ass? Let's see here. Pam Bondi has been on a roll. Wow, it was wonderful watching her yesterday in that catastrophe. But let me see here. Let me pull up this next article real quick, because just so people can see it. Let's see here. Is it this one? I think it's this one, right? Is it this? Okay, no, this isn't the right article. Well, don't worry. I'm going to find that one. Right. There's been many articles about this now, but I didn't even add that in there. Daggone. Let me see. Here's another one just for folks to check out while I try to get this last one. There was an article about one facility that closed down due to the shutdown. So I'm trying to see if I can find out where that was. Okay. Is it this one? Okay, but in any case, no, this is an older article. This is that shows you this is not the first time. There's more articles. Look, that happened before in a but let's see here. So look, so the gig is that these folks are not getting paid. Republicans, they don't tend to like that. Of course, that is I think that affects morale to be honest with you. Now, there's some people that get kicks out of this shit anyway, so nothing will ever affect their morale, right? They will go out, you hear people saying they'll do it for free, even though they don't work for ICE. But, I'm curious myself, how many ICE agents are prepared for, let's say, 2 or 3 months of a shutdown, because a shutdown can be permanent. It can be not permanent, but indefinite, right? So it can go on forever until they get something right. And there's folks being furloughed, fired too. So because of this, but I'm more curious about the active ones. But now the news is out. People can talk about it, discuss it. You should, if you know someone that's in ICE or know someone that's in the National Guard, hey, ask them, how do you feel? How does it feel to know that you might not get paid at the end of the month? How does it feel? Actually, I think October 15th was the last date they got paid. They're expecting a check. Their next check, they're expecting 8 days from now. In the United States, usually money tends, a lot of people are living month to month. You don't know if ICE is a 2-family household or one. You don't know. There's a lot of variations. You don't know if it's two-parent household with only one working person. You don't know. But a lot of people, tend to live month to month. And you don't know how often, like missing one check, how far they can go. I believe there's a lot of data on that in the U.S. and it does include service members, ICE and people like that. And I think they say the average American is like 1 to 2 checks away from, having a really bad time in their life. Right. So I would assume it accounts for them, too, because these people don't get paid a whole lot, y'all. Straight up. ICE doesn't get paid a whole lot. Not these types of folks. National Guard doesn't get paid. I don't know what you consider a lot, but, I think 20 years ago, damn, in my 30, I was 30 then. I was getting paid $30,000 to, just because, I was in communications. I went to communications school. Right. So multimedia, stuff like that. So, to a lot of people, $30,000 20 years ago is that I don't think ICE gets paid in comparison 20 years ago. I don't think they get paid as well as I was getting paid 20 years ago. If you want to do a comparison. Right. So, and I know 30,000 is not that much even 20 years ago to some people, so I don't know. It's just something to think about. But in any case, Pam, let's see here. Shit is getting hot again on the Epstein files. One of the people is getting hot on, we reviewed already. Let me go over to Mr. Trump. He said some of the silliest things, but just to remind people, Mr. Trump basically says some very, very weird things about his history.
But you're considering that. I will speak to the DOJ.
But this is what's going on with Trump. He got asked, and then watch how they pull up his comments. You tell me what's going on with this guy.
I'll take a look at it. But you're considering that. I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So
why would she be a candidate?
I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be?
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look.
Did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
Why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell? It's something I haven't thought about.
Do you support the Justice Department seeking an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Me? Well, I'll take a look at it.
But you're considering that.
I will speak to the DOJ. I wouldn't consider it or not consider it. I don't know anything about it. So
why would she be a candidate?
I will speak to the DOJ.
Why would she be?
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look.
Did you personally approve the prison transfer for Ghislaine Maxwell that your Justice Department?
I didn't know about it at all. No, I read about it just like you did.
Why?
Pardon for who?
For Ghislaine Maxwell.
Well, I'm allowed to give her a pardon.
Would you consider a pardon or a commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell? It's something I haven't thought about.
Do you support the Justice Department seeking an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell?
I don't know anything about it. They're going to what? Me? Well, I'll take a look at it.
But you're considering
I will
that.
speak to the DA.
Right. So Trump, this is the same thing Trump says every time, essentially, they bring up Ghislaine Maxwell's name. Who is that? Who are you talking about? I haven't thought about it. I could pardon her, or I haven't thought about it. I don't think I will pardon her, but I could. I don't know. Wow, I haven't heard that name before. Ghislaine? Who's Ghislaine? I don't know a Ghislaine. Oh, that Ghislaine. Trump has been around the wagon on this thing, and now he's back at it again, and he's playing the same game. Who's Ghislaine Maxwell? Ghislaine? How do you spell her name? Ghislaine. You sure that's how you say it? Trump is Trump. So basically what the deal is, y'all, is the Supreme Court has made a judgment that they will not take up Ghislaine Maxwell's case. So in other words, Ghislaine Maxwell was put into light security, and she was asking the Supreme Court to take up her case, saying that it was wrong because the Florida case already said, they had it baked in that she wouldn't be able, or that Epstein wouldn't be able to be prosecuted anywhere else in the United States. And that also means her too, since they're trying to, and anybody that's a co-conspirator, right? Well, that turned out to be wrong. No, New York State, when they charged her again, they didn't give a damn about that in 2019. They were like, what? That makes no sense. That was a deal you made with Florida. You didn't make that deal with New York. OK, it's very simple. Nobody else decides for New York. Florida is not the federal government. Florida decides for Florida. They don't decide for Massachusetts. Right. And that's how states operate. OK, so in any case, when they got her, the deal that really matters is the federal government's deal, not the state. And the federal government never made a deal with her, a non-prosecution deal with her. So she had to go through the ringer. She gets convicted. Trump was in office. When Epstein was in office, by the way, he died. When Trump was in office, Epstein died in jail. Well, this was at the end, I believe. Towards the end, they started to prosecute Ghislaine Maxwell. And Trump went out of the White House again. Biden came in, continued the prosecution. She was convicted. She goes to jail. And now Trump is back in office, and he sends her to a low level security place after he sends out the deputy of the Justice Department to talk to her to kind of find out, do you know anything else? And of course, she's like, I never seen anything. And Trump is like, see, she said she never seen anything. Or, the right wing is like, yeah, she never said nothing. And people have been asking him since then, are you going to pardon her? Right. And these are the things she's been saying. I don't know. I could if I wanted to, but I have to look into it. Well, they were waiting. Trump was waiting and hoping that the Supreme Court would take it up because, of course, it would look really dumb if he pardoned her. It would be like a guilty verdict, aha. So you do know her well enough. You do have a personal relationship with her. It is true what the Epstein files say and other people, right? Because after all, he ran on the platform that he would release the Epstein files. As soon as he got in office with Cash Patel and Pam Bondi, they decided to not release it. So this is the context behind it, right? So now that the Supreme Court has been removed from it, they made the decision. They're not taking up her case. All that's left for Ghislaine Maxwell to get out of jail is factually Donald Trump. And I knew myself it was going to come down to this. I've been saying this for a month now. Once we reviewed this in the lives, if you just go back a month ago, I even have one show that was called "He's Going to Pardon Her," and here's why. So now it's come down to crunch time. If Maxwell wants to get out of jail, it's going to have to be Trump. Now, Trump. He, in my view, he got Todd and from the deputy of the Department of Justice to interview her to run interference because there were people looking to interview Maxwell. So he kind of did that move to shut her down, gave her a little cookie to keep her quiet for a little while, get her to a minimum security, and that kept her ass quiet. That's over now. See, that's over now. You know, she was hoping that she could get out. That was her last chance. And if she doesn't get a pardon from Trump, she is going to spend the rest of her life pretty much, or she's going to get out when she's old as hell. In other words, she's going to be wrinkled. You know, there won't be no life left in her, right? If she doesn't get out now, and it's known that Trump is her only shot. So the spotlight is back on Maxwell, because if Trump don't make a move, she can actually just, you know, give all the goods up on Trump, you see? And so Trump is obviously worried about that. What would you do if you were in that situation? Would you keep secrets for Trump if he didn't pardon you? I mean, you tell me. People handle this kind of stuff different. I think she's a woman that wants to get out of jail. I think Trump basically knows her very personally. And I also think Trump is on his way out. I don't think Trump is going to last more than like a week, really. I've been saying this for some time. I said a month ago, Trump is not going to make it to Christmas. Now it's gotten worse just because of how things have been going in the last week or last 4 or 5 days. I think 4 or 5 days ago, I said, give him 10 days. He's out of here. Because once you have his buddy who is out there in the public, like literally blowing up the spot, literally, right?
Incidents that the building administration chose to
who was
send
that?
Black Hawk
It's,
helicopters and flashbang
hold on, here we go.
into was a Democratic
Howard Lutnick?
5 minutes, and typically people.
Hold on, it ain't Howard Lutnick here? Oh, here we go.
Just recently, not too long ago, a court order
About the law yet is that racist trope.
Is it not there?
Can I ask you about the messages this administration has? They have.
Oh, wait a second. Howard Lutnick is not here? Did I pull the wrong file? But in any case, Howard Lutnick came out just a week ago and blasted Donald Trump. Howard Lutnick is a cabinet member of Trump's, and he's a billionaire. And he came out and basically explained that, you know, he had been offered by Jeffrey Epstein this thing. He's been in Jeffrey Epstein's house once. He saw the massage table. Jeffrey Epstein was letting him know that these are the kind of massages we get, man. The right kind. That's been all over the New York Post. That interview was done by the New York Post, and it sent shockwaves. So that's the background. Now you have Ghislaine has a chance to get out. Trump is under pressure. When you have one of your own cabinet members do something like that, it shows you there's some serious cracks in the cabinet. Like, there's not a lot of reporting on it. People are saying that there's some cracks there, but these got to be very deep, gaping wounds in his cabinet. Like, there's got to be chaos there. And if you ask me, it's the wealthy people want Trump the fuck out. They're tired of him. Every day that he's in office, it is keeping the light on Epstein. And the real story about Epstein is the blackmail. That's what Howard Lutnick highlighted, that it is blackmail. And I've been saying that too. It's not, this is the story. Like, if you want your country free, you have to have those files released, because you don't know who's being blackmailed. You don't know if it's judges. You don't know if it's senators. You don't know if it's congressional members. Every time something comes up like health care to have a vote, you don't know if some of those people voting on something like that are in the Epstein files. Blackmail. You don't know how deep this goes. And so you don't know who else has that information, who Jeffrey Epstein may have given the information to. So you don't know if it's foreign governments that have it. And it looks like it can look very easily to many like Trump's relationship with Putin has something to do with similar behavior, you know, i.e. possibly blackmail. So in any case, this is kind of the background. So, you know, Lutnick coming out and saying that, I think Peter Thiel, they've invested a lot of money. They got a lot to lose. Elon Musk has invested a lot of time and energy and money. He has a lot of federal contracts to lose. This shutdown is not helping their contracts. Look, the same federal dollars is being held up for those contracts that they use to pay their employees that have those contracts too. Don't forget that. Like, this is not a good look for them. You see, and anybody else's that's getting federal dollars through those contracts. It's a couple of other ones that are getting them that are big names that don't often get in the media that's behind Trump. You see, so a lot of these folks are tired of Trump. So I don't give it. Trump's an old man. They knew Trump was an old man. They knew he was an old ass stinking old man. And they can see him walking, you know, going back and forth. They see his hand patches on his hand. I mean, the guy is incoherent when he's making speeches. I mean, you know, come on. You know, now he's starting to even disappear from the public. They can't even let people see how he goes, you know, leaves the golf course anymore. It's like Trump doesn't look good. So, yeah, so it's looking pretty bad for Trump. He's 78 years old, probably 300 pounds, you know. Yeah. And if you know anything about the cardiovascular system of a person's body, when you start getting those ankle swellings and things like that, those patches, those are signs that it could be worse than what you think, you know. So, you know, it's not just what you see. The man has heart problems, you see, circulation problems. That's not good. That's not good for your health in any type of way. It could affect your health in 100 ways. You see what I'm saying? So in any case, that's the background behind that. And so this is all coming out now. What is Trump going to do? Hey, fuck it. Trump is going to be Trump as always, and he's not going to give it down. And it just is what it is. But in any case, let's roll right over into Miss Pam Bondi. She has had a lot to say. And it just looks embarrassing. If you ask me, I don't know how many of you have seen some of the highlights from this, but it didn't look good for Pam Bondi at all. She couldn't answer. Look at this. She couldn't. Let me wrap it up for y'all real quick. Did I pull this in here? Let me pull this one up. I don't think I pulled them all in yet. Let me make sure I'm pulling them in right. She just won't answer no damn questions. You know what I'm saying? That's Pam Bondi for you. She didn't want to answer one question. Look, this will give you a little highlight, and then we will watch more of it and do some commentary. Let me see here. Boom.
Did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
What is that? what is this? She just made a face and didn't answer the question. Like she was doing that all day.
Did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay.
Right. So she did that all goddamn day long. Now let's see. There's a few others. I mean, let me see. Where did I pull up the one with what's the guy's name? Hold on. With Adam Schiff. Trump calls him Schiff. Answer. Just a concise list. Let me see here. Where is the list? It is so embarrassing. Yeah, I don't know what to say. Here it is. It's so embarrassing. But let's pull some of these up. Actually, let me pull these all up. Damn, there's this many? Matter of fact. Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize I had this many. Let me see here. Now, did I pull these up? 2 seconds, y'all. Sorry. I didn't realize I had more clips to preview here. I didn't actually pull in. Let me see. Here they come. 2 seconds. Yeah, but in any case, everyone ripped into her ass, and she just didn't have one single, she didn't want to answer one damn question. And it was just embarrassing. But here, I'm going to pull them all up in one time. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we can just get on with it here. Boom. And let's see here. Here we go.
Chairman?
Yes.
May I respond?
Yes, you may respond. Then Senator Kennedy.
Thank you. The double standard is crystal.
Oh, okay, this was the end of her rant. Hold on.
DOJ's Antitrust Division sued to block the merger of two tech companies. Then, well-connected lobbyists met with your political deputies who overruled the career staff and approved the merger. So there's a settlement on that. And separately, DOJ sued Ticketmaster last year for monopolizing concert tickets and forcing consumers to pay outrageous fees. Ticketmaster has hired the exact same lobbyists who met with senior DOJ political people regarding the merger of the two tech companies. My question is, Ms. Bondi, have lobbyists met with your political deputies about the Ticketmaster case?
Senator Hirono, as I stated earlier, I am not going to discuss anything that
set up a fund and to have people support such a fund?
Okay, I'm back, y'all. Sorry about that. I got kicked out again. Let me see here. So now they're asking her about setting up a fund, right? And hence more corruption. And there's a lot of people that aren't concerned about their own tax dollars. I could see sometimes when I look at the chat, I see a lot of disinterest in some key points. I'm not saying everybody, but again, this is your tax dollars that they're talking about. When they're talking about corruption, they're talking about every American's tax dollars. And it's even worse because this type of corruption is the big people, the wealthy versus the average people, the regular class. This is when you talk about antitrust laws and the DOJ are supposed to be protecting you from the wealthy that take advantage of the system, right, to protect the average taxpayer, right? And so this is what they're discussing. And actually, Senator Hirono, she asked some straight to the point questions that just had Pam Bondi in backflips and all kinds of shit. She even got irate, as she always does in a fake way. But let's play the next question.
Would you okay such a fund?
Senator,
Support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ. Next question. Over 1,200 rioters.
Right. So she's trying to set up a fund and she doesn't want to answer the question. And if you notice what she answered is that if you send me the fund, I don't know anything about the fund, but if you send me the fund, I'll be happy to answer your questions. But this is what they all say in the Trump administration whenever they're coming up to an oversight committee, where they have to actually give their testimony. This is what they always say, that they never heard of it. If you send me the information, I'll be happy to answer your questions. So these are key questions about shit that she's actually supposed to know. But let's play some more.
Rioters were convicted of charges related to January 6th. President Trump has since pardoned nearly all of them. As if that weren't enough, last month there were reports that a lawyer for the January 6th rioters met with senior DOJ officials about setting up a compensation fund like the one that Congress set up after 9/11 to compensate these rioters. Ms. Bondi, is anyone at DOJ considering setting up a compensation fund for January 6th rioters? Yes or no?
Senator, I have had no meetings or discussions about a fund.
So would you support such a fund? Would you okay such a fund?
Senator, you can send me the information on the fund, and I'd be happy to look at it.
No, but do you think that's a good idea to, this is what I'm getting at. Because to actually set up a fund and to have people talking with your senior people at DOJ, political people, about creating a fund, and you won't let us know what you think about that, that's pretty unbelievable. On January 3rd,
right.
Staff met with my staff, and I greatly appreciate that.
So she doesn't know nothing about a fund, Okay, let's go to the next one. She knows nothing about a fund. That's interesting, but that's Pam Bondi. Let's see here. Hold on. She never knows much about anything, and yeah, people gonna have to find out later, right? I guess that's how it's designed. Let me see here. There's more about Pam Bondi. Where's it at? Is it this right here? Here we go. This is Adam Shifty. Trump calls him Adam Shifty Schiff. Oh no, hold on. This isn't the Adam Shifty Schiff one, but here, let's see here. This is Durbin. Let's listen to this one now and see what she had to say to Mr. Durbin.
Were you consulted by the White House before they deployed National Guard troops to cities in the United States?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House.
You won't even say whether you talked to the White House about this?
I am not going to discuss any internal conversations with the White House with you, Ranking Member.
I noticed that. What's the secret? Why do you want to keep this secret? The American people don't know the rationale behind the deployment of National Guard troops in my state. The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will.
I've been on this committee for more than 20 years. That's the kind of testimony you expect from this administration. A simple question as to whether or not they had a legal rationale for deploying National Guard troops becomes grounds for a personal attack. I think it's a legitimate question. It's my responsibility. She refuses to answer as to whether she had any conversation with the White House about deploying national troops to my state. That's an indication, I'm afraid, where we are politically in this place.
Yes, so she didn't like that question. Yeah, it goes on and on with Pam Bondi, but hold on, let me pull up a longer clip here. Let's see here. Where do we have Pam? We got some more of Pam. Actually, she's all over the place, but let's see. Let me try to get, oh, here it is. I'm trying to find the one with Shifty Shift because, as she calls him, excuse me, Adam, but, oh, here it is. Here it is. Hold on. Let me go back. It's right here in my face. I don't know why I keep missing that one here. Here we go. Come on. Is it here? All right, one. Boom. There we go. Let's pull this one out. Right.
In the hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi, here are just some of the questions she refused to answer, asked by me and my Democratic colleagues.
I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question. You were asked,
law degree,
excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections to attack the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight.
In the hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi, here are just some of the questions she refused to answer, asked by me and my Democratic colleagues.
I think it's valuable that the American people get a...
Yo, Bandito, exactly. Sycophantic hypocrites. And DW, exactly. DEI hire Bondi. That's exactly what, I mean, they're claiming equality. They're claiming acknowledging discrimination is DEI hiring. No, she's the DEI hiring because they hired her particularly because of her race. It's crazy.
Get a sense,
or her color, or, it's crazy.
Sense of what you
look, and this is how you answer questions. Look, could Obama answer a question like this? Let's be honest. What African American do you know that would be treated well if they answer questions like this? And when I say African American, I mean the ones that have, the ones that went through slavery in the United States of America, the ones who went through slavery in America in the colonial periods before there was a United States of America, the people that are related, that their ancestors went through that in the country, like mine, for example, like I have family that went through that, so if I am ashamed, like I could never represent my people. I could never represent any part of I'm American, any part of my family in the way that she's doing up here on the national stage. But she is proud to do it. She's proud to not answer one question. You can't ask her a question about Epstein. You can't answer a question about dude taking $50,000 bribe. Fat ass sitting on his ass. You can't ask, Tom, whatever his name is, the borders are. I mean, nothing. And she's just proud of it. I'm sorry, but I know 100% for a fact that if this was a black man or a black woman, these exact same people that are proud of Pam Bondi would be dissing them.
What you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee.
Yo, M. Baker, you know what? Let me read M. Baker's comment here. M. Barker, I'm sorry. She approaches this like a criminal trial. I guess if the shoe fits, she refuses to answer instead of, something, and you picked up on something also. I picked up on that too. No, she is handling this like it's a criminal trial, like she knows she's going to be prosecuted later. And yes, I believe you are 100% correct about this. She didn't want to answer anything because these issues are going to end up in a trial one day, straight up, whether it's in front of Congress or whether it's in front of a criminal indictment, straight up, make no mistake about it. There's a lot of people that think you can get away with things so easy like this. Nah, because if the country is going to survive, you must prosecute criminals, straight up. And so excellent comment, M. Baker.
You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question. You were asked, excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections to attack the Capitol on January 6th. We refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight.
In the hearing with...
In fact, exactly. It's supposed to be an oversight hearing. And these are the same people like Pam Bondi. She didn't answer none of those questions. These are the same people that just went nuts into a spin cycle for years and still are over Obama's birth certificate. Just one thing, the birth certificate. And they're still trying to figure out, does he have a birth certificate? Let me see his birth certificate. I want to see his birth certificate. I want to see it. You know what I'm saying? Even though had he not won that election and John McCain won that election, you actually are against John McCain's ass too. I mean, that's the crazy part about it. But in any case, Pam Bondi was getting her ass swept on the floor. You know, it is crazy. But let me bring this one back up here. Right, this one takes a while. All right, here, enjoy, folks.
Thank you, Chairman.
Enjoy.
Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
That's a long-ass pause.
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors.
She's reading a statement. This lady, she knows she is going to end up in trial over this shit. And because it is exactly her job to approve the shutting down of that case of the Tom, whatever his big ass, belly ass name, you know, Mr. Drunkard, Tom, whatever, the border czar took 50,000 in a paper bag and bribes. You see what I mean? Allegedly. That's who's being alleged. But the kicker is the feds have it on tape and they made the whole shit disappear. Now they're trying to say the tape don't exist or they don't want to discuss the tape at all. She won't even answer if the tape exists or not. Let's bring it back. But this is who the Department of DOJ is right now. This is crazy. Again, had Obama or Kamala, notice how they'd have no questions for Kamala. No questions for Obama. No one's asking Obama or Kamala, did you take what about the paper bag, the video with the paper bag? Nobody's asking them that. The Republicans are the majority. If there was one inkling of a thing, they would have dragged their ass into court in front of Congress or whatever already. They would have indicted them. They would have had them in front of Congress. They would have had them in front of a judge getting, about to go to jail. But this is the opposite now. Now this is a whole different standard. The standard is not the same standard when you're dealing with a Kamala Harris or a Obama or a Biden. No, the standard is totally different. There's no standards. All the standards are removed now. And now if you just ask the head of the DOJ, hey, did he take money on a videotape with a paper bag? $50,000. She can't even answer. Look how long that shit took. Listen.
Good morning.
Oh, my God.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Crickets.
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review
different question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation
never mind.
of Mr.
Never mind.
Homan
I can
was
see I'm not going to get a straight
full
answer from you to a very
review
simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know-
against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second, wait a
Yet you
second,
work with dark
wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator,
good question.
I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
I mean, I don't see how this doesn't just translate into, yeah, I made that case go away. And yeah, I saw that video. Yeah, he did it. Because she's saying everything else but answering the man's question, you know, and usually with most people, that means you did it. You're guilty, right? It's just, you know, but unless you're MAGA got different standards. That would be, you know, it's like the opposite, you know, it will flip to the opposite. Like answering no questions means you're innocent in MAGA. I got it. Yep.
Questions here are actually pretty specific. So having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR. And to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax return?
I mean, notice how they have the same answers to the Epstein files. It's the same way of answering. They don't answer anything. They just go with these accusations about people. Like they made one accusation here trying to suggest he's connected to dark money or he took money connected, you know, because you could go out on the internet and find anything. There's people that believe aliens landed yesterday and control Egypt. There's people that believe aliens built the pyramids. Why? Because somebody said it on the internet. There was people that believe, what's this guy that got sued for billions of dollars over Sandy Hook? What's his name? The conspiracy theory dude. He made a whole lot of goddamn money selling conspiracy theories. Like seriously, he made a whole lot of money. But there's people that still believe a lot of those conspiracies, and they heard it from him, and he's a scammer. I mean, but this is with the internet. A lot of people get shit wrong. Sadly, they don't have the critical thinking ability to be able to sort through a lie when bombarded with it. But this is how you do it. You just ask basic questions, and they never answer basic questions. You know, these are not deep questions. They're just the beginning ones, the ones you start off with, not the ones you hold on to later and shit. You know what I'm saying? These are just the setup, the basic ones. And she's like, nope. And I'm not going to answer nothing about Epstein, but let me let it play. Let's go.
Tax returns. Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who
Alex
said
Jones.
there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office up his butt saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction. Yeah. what became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you
Yeah, exactly, the spy.
for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice.
She's just so sassy. She's so sassy. Who answers questions like that? That would be the honorable blah blah to you. Like, she's acting like you're asking her personal questions like, you know, did you take my did you take this out of my room yesterday? Or, you know, it's like they're dating. She's talking to him like this is her damn boyfriend or some shit. Like, I'm annoyed this morning. I woke up angry and you didn't do this. You know, like, she's talking like a woman that's in a bad relationship. Like, seriously. Or, man, men get like that too. Kind of weird, you know, when they're having toxic relationships. But she's making this sound like these are personal questions. No, lady, you could go to jail over this shit. This is the taxpayer of the United States. This is our money asking you. And you see how they just turn this into a total joke. They have no respect for the taxpayer. No citizen. Not one. Not one. You got to keep this in mind. She's talking to him, but the reality is that no, lady, you talking to every goddamn citizen in the country, because every citizen, no matter if they're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, no matter if they're not even a person that's signed up to a party, if they pay federal payroll taxes, they're paying this man's salary and hers. This is serious business. This is your life, sweat, and tears, lady. Act like it. Act like it when you answer these questions. But she doesn't think this is y'all lifeline. She doesn't think this is that you pay enough of her salary, even though you pay all her salary. That's not a sign of respect for her. She doesn't feel like she has to answer to the taxpayer. She's going to convert it into some little trope argument with this guy. Oh, you've been on the dark web. And I'm going to tell you, there's a lot of people that go for that bullshit. Ergo, reducing what it is to be an American citizen, reducing what it is to be a fucking taxpayer in the United States of America. Like, she is not serious at all. And anybody that lets her get away with this must be used to dealing with fucking children. People on 11-year-old level. Like, seriously, this is how petulant children behave, like her, like straight up, with your tax dollars.
Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's all pending litigation, Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But Senator,
look, you see that? Look, this is a serious indication here that she is she's desperate. Like, this was the worst performance of all, but this is almost an admission of guilt, like what she's doing, because how desperate could you be as a director of any government agency, let alone the Department of Justice, to actually say something in public that you yourself about another, make an accusation about another, just who's asking you a basic question. This is like if the police pull you over and ask you, hey, can I see your driver's license and registration? Or hey, is that your weapon in the do you have a weapon in the glove department? She's answering questions, standard questions like that, by saying, well, officer, did your ex-wife, that hangs out at the bar down the street, collect dark money on the web? I mean, she's totally, if it's true, officer, I don't know. This is how she just answered that question. And I'm sorry, but that is exactly how no professional, no serious person would ever answer a question when you are being paid by the United States taxpayer to head up a major department on their behalf. That's just not how you do it. This is embarrassing. Look at how she answered this. This is terrible.
this is confidence, not only once but twice in 2018. Senator, I'm not sure if you
related to accounts.
Here. All he's doing is asking about accounts. He's supposed to. It doesn't matter if you're, look, unless you're one of the people that don't want the victims of Jeffrey Epstein to get justice, unless you're one of the people that want Maxwell to come out of jail, unless you're one of the people who don't want the Epstein files released. I mean, maybe you're one of those types of people, but he's just asking a basic question, and listen to how she answered it.
Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 20.
She's acting like this is a personal question, like this is some sort of attack on her. Like, this is crazy. This is damning. I'm sorry, but any person with halfway intelligence in their brain can see this is very, very bad. And Rhonda K., why are these people given these very important positions to just easily say, I'm not going to answer you? These people always get up there and claim no responsibility. Exactly. And this is the worst kind of question, because he's asking a job that you would want regardless if you're a Republican, regardless if you're a Democrat, regardless if you're independent. Any person in criminal justice in the Department of Justice would ask that question is supposed to understand how important that question is. And she just went on a personal attack that she can't affirm even herself. That, wow, I never seen that before. She's an utter embarrassment. Like, she may as well be saying, hey, y'all, I'm covering this shit up for Trump. I seen those pictures and you ain't going to do a damn thing about it because I'm paying Bondi and I'm proud of it. Who are you, liberal, asking me this? I'm covering up sex offenders, but you're the one who ain't shit. I mean, she may as well be saying it like that. Listen.
In 2024, if that's correct.
Jeffrey Epstein.
One more time. Let me hear it. Let me just hear
Get you
this.
a copy, Senator. Gladly.
If being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator,
why would she say if that's correct? You supposed to know is correct because this is you defending, answering a question that's serious. Like that makes no sense whatsoever. That could not be. You can't expect that from a high school student. You can't expect that from an elementary school student. What the hell? This is bad, very bad behavior. But Rhonda K says they should be required to answer all questions or do jail time. Yeah, this is what is it called? Damn, contempt. She's not. This is criminal contempt. I mean, it's not criminal because they're in the Senate right now. But if you did this in your own court hearing, if you did this, you would go to jail. You know what I'm saying? If anybody else did this to any federal agent, police officer, you would go to jail for criminal contempt, like straight up. What's the charge for that? How many years do you do that? What's the minimum? Or what's the maximum? I'm not sure. But in any case, this lady I'm not impressed with at all. And I'm not just saying that because I don't agree with her politically. This has nothing to do with politics. This has everything to do with being a professional. It shouldn't matter what your party is. This is a sign of criminality, the way she answered that question. And not just criminality, conspiracy to cover up crimes, like right in people's faces. Like, this means she is part of the crime. Like, seriously, a willing participant in covering up crimes. Yo, nobody should be happy with that. This should not be a party thing. People should be ripping her to shreds. Like, if you wanted Clinton to go to jail, you should want her to go to jail. Like, it shouldn't matter what party. If you wanted Obama, Biden, anyone to face justice, this is even more egregious. This is more egregious than anything. Biden, Obama, Clinton. This is more egregious than Clinton because she's even trying to cover up a whole damn criminal trafficking ring that could be blackmailing justices, Supreme Court justices, lower court judges, senators, congressional members. It could, you don't know if Kash Patel is in them Epstein files, like straight up. And she is answering this like you have no right to know. Who are you? And she's getting paid. Doesn't matter if you're a Republican, if you're independent, or if you're a Democrat. We all pay her salaries. She's supposed to be answering to us. This is public oversight. If you're happy with her having no respect for that person that asked, that means you're happy with her having no respect for you, the public, you, the taxpayer. If you getting happy, like, she's smart, look at how she answered him, you're the fucking fool. Because she's answering this question to you, the one who pay their salaries. This is your public hearing. This is crazy. This is
Senator,
crazy.
Did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at 0 of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found
Here it is. It's
with
coming.
half-naked young women? Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump.
That's not a salacious remark. That's a question to a person that claimed to getting to get to the bottom of what happened. And now she's not even willing to answer that question. Look, y'all, if the answer was no, she would have said no. That was the easiest thing to say. No only takes, how many seconds is that? That's not even a second. How many splits of a second is that? That's a, you know, I mean, that is damning. To answer this question, saying all of this shit instead of just no. There are no pictures. Making a clear statement. This is damning, and it's also, you know, it's looking like she knows this is going to end up in, you know, somewhere else in either a courtroom later, you know, or in a trial for treason later. Like, you know, they still have trials for treason, you know, like straight up. Guess who gives them? Congress and the Senate. Yeah, they do. And if they find you guilty of treason, you can go to jail, definitely. And I even think is treason might even be the one thing you can be, one of the things you can go, is it death penalty for treason? I'm not sure, but it used to be in the U.S. But treason is a serious crime. And covering up this kind of stuff, showing willful intent over and over and over and over and over again. If you listen to how she answers these questions, she is not saying no or yes. She's not confirming or denying, almost like she's protecting herself from what is to come, like straight up. Like, this is a weird way to answer this question. I'm so surprised.
Those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise. Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein.
And let me just play that full question again. Here it is.
With half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs?
Yeah. Okay, everybody knows Michael Wolff from the Daily Beast has been saying for over a year now that Trump came. I actually have the clip anyway here. He said it a million times in a million interviews. Michael Wolff. He was the biographer for Trump, and he was I think the biographer for Epstein. He's the one journalist that had more access to Epstein and to Donald Trump than any other single individual. He has tapes, hours and hours and hours, because he doesn't just give interviews, he records an audio all his interviews. So he has audio tapes of these interactions. Anything that he said in public about what Epstein said to him, when he said Epstein showed him these 12 pictures of Trump with little girls, or with girls of women or females of unknown age, right? Meaning that, damn, they don't look adult, because if they looked adult, you would say some adult women, right? Now, he have the audio recordings of his interviews with Epstein when Epstein showed him these pictures. When Epstein said this, hey, I got some pictures of Trump. You want to see? Let me go to my safe and get them. That kind of stuff. So when she's answering these questions, keep that in mind. This is the type of information that he's asking. People are asking, does the Epstein has Kash Patel or Pam Bondi ever gone to get those audio tapes? Have they ever questioned Michael Wolff? This is key. Like, this is key stuff here, because there could be evidence that throws her, that proves that she's lying, or that there's a conspiracy that's still out there. And when you think about how she's answering their questions, it almost sounds like she knows, because she ain't answering shit.
With half-naked young women.
Keep in mind, she could say, no, there are no pictures. I've never seen any pictures. But she's not saying she never seen any pictures. This is...
Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you?
She's not trying to answer if she knows, does the FBI have these images in their safe? Why don't you just say, I don't know? Or why don't you just say, I do know and they're not there? Or I do know and they're there? She's not willing to say it. So that in itself is damning in two parts, because not only does it say that those pictures are likely there, because if she knew those pictures weren't there, she would goddamn want to tell people. Trump would be telling her to tell people. That would be all over the front page news. But instead, she's doing the opposite, not even answering the question, which means they're likely there. And it also means she's likely covering up for the biggest sex trafficking ring the country has ever known. That a lot of people being blackmailed could be a part of or part in,
Seen any such thing?
Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
If you think the Biden administration is honest, put a 1 in the chat. Okay, there we go.
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that. Okay. Here's what well, no, we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
sir. Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with...
You know, she's doing a lot of projecting here because notice, you can speak any way you want. You can sound like irate like she sounds, but sounding how you sound, you could say all of these things and gain and have maintain people's confidence even without speaking the way she's speaking. Oh, 2 seconds. Hold on. What is this? About that, I got to call y'all. But you can answer these questions in a calm way, right? The way she's answering is not really reaffirming, actually, even though she thinks that it is, you know. But let's continue here.
Or premises or otherwise. Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of...
Okay, sorry about that, y'all. I'm back here. Let me get right back to that part. Sorry, that call took me out. So I have to actually remember to cut that off. Let me see. Let's
to do so.
Regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats...
Right, like what I was saying is how she's responding, it looks a lot like projection. Like she is overdoing it when it's really just a simple question. There's some people that are reassuring in a calm, concise manner. She's not calm and concise. She's almost like responding in a defensive posture. Like, nobody believes me. No, why don't you believe me? You know, let me slam my hand down on the table. Let me, sharpen my tone. Let me, get angry at you for expecting so much of me. Like, this is the wrong way to gain people's confidence.
Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Serralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
including
who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you. Okay.
Right. She's angry. This is a question that you should be asking, given the fact that civil servants, elected officials, judges get threatened every single day of the week, and that some have been murdered and attacked in their own homes. Right. This is a question anyone is supposed to be asking in this environment. Right. But she's answering the question almost like she's offended. Like, that's not a good sign. She's not calm. She's not concise. And she doesn't even really answer the question until the end. But she's almost sending the message that I don't understand why you would be asking me or any other official in this particular time in the country, when obviously it's a logical question that anyone would want to ask in this seat. Like, no matter if this is a Republican appointee or this is a Republican asking, or senator asking, or Democrat appointee or Democrat asking, right? This question should be a question for anybody right now, because these people are getting death threats every single day. You see, her own administration has talked about death threats. The Trump administration, Trump himself has talked about death threats from the left, the radical left, and the left has talked about it from the right. Charlie Kirk was just murdered. A judge just had her home went up in fire, but elected officials were killed in Minnesota. One or two officials maybe were killed in Minnesota. So this is a question anybody should be asking, but listen to how she answers it.
Started my question in my time. You may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
sir. Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Serralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges,
including
who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I see. Rob, but Rob, this arson, this fire, that was just one instance. There's a lot of instances that happen that you can obviously see, and you should acknowledge on the left and the right if you want to keep it real. But the thing is that it's not just that. It's that one thing you need to understand is that elected officials from both sides, judges, no matter what party they might have been appointed by, all get death threats regularly. So this question is a serious question for any party person to answer and to ask of any person heading up the Department of Justice or FBI, regardless of who appointed them. This is definitely a question for these times that we live in now, no matter who you are. And the way she answered it was kind of like she's personally offended. And that's what I think is a little strange. But let's go on to the next one.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
That was his line of questioning to Bondi. And let's see here. Is this Adam Shifty Shift again? Let's go back to what Trump calls Adam Shifty Shift. This is what happened. Now, just to remind people, to recap, these are all the questions that she refused to answer.
In the hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi, here are just some of the questions she refused to answer, asked by me and my Democratic colleagues.
I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money.
I'm not sure, McFly. I don't get your question. It sounds to me like you're not a taxpayer, or maybe not an American citizen. But in the scope of these being, every citizen is not a civil servant, right? And so these people are getting your if you are an American citizen and you do pay taxes, these people are getting your money. You're paying for their salary. That's what makes it relevant. You pay for judges' salaries, right? On the federal level, Supreme Court and the lower Supreme Court, you pay for Pam Bondi's salary, you pay for Adam Schiff's salary. No matter who if you're Republican or Democrat, you pay for Republicans and Democrats and independents or non-affiliated servants on this level. Every hour that you work, a piece of your money goes out to all of these people. Right. And so in the scope of that's kind of like your business. Right. It's also your business in that way, like in a different way than what it would be like if it was just another person. Now, a lot of people you might know get death threats. I don't know. I don't know people. I know very few people that get death threats. And those few people, I don't pay any money of my salary to. They have nothing else to do with me. And of course, I feel sorry for them. That's very few people, however. But if somebody was an employee of mine, if some of my money from every hour that I go to work was going to a person that has a job to do, and that job is they're working for me, and they're getting death threats, that hinders their job performance. So just to let you know, I mean, I don't know if you get that.
To answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors...
I think you're still missing it, McFly. It's not about special protection. You may not think they need special protection, but you should at least acknowledge death threats hinder a normal person's job performance, man. And when you think that they're getting hundreds of death threats a day, some of them, I don't know, that might be 100 times more serious, but in any case, don't worry, I gotcha.
Find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question. You were asked,
law degree,
excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the president? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did you approve the firing of antitrust lawyers who disagreed with the Hewlett-Packard merger? You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you support a restoration fund for violent insurrections who attacked the Capitol on January 6th. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether you were firing career professionals, career prosecutors, just because they worked on January 6th investigations. You refused to answer that question. You were asked by my California colleague whether you believe government officials, like immigration officials, have to abide by court orders. You wouldn't even answer that question. This is supposed to be an oversight.
In the hearing with Hearing with Attorney General Pam Bondi, here are just some of the questions she refused to answer, asked by me and my Democratic colleagues.
I think it's valuable that the American people get a sense of what you've refused to answer today. So these are just some of the questions you refused to answer, or have answered with personal attacks on members of this committee. You were asked whether you consulted with career ethics lawyers, as you promised you would do during your nomination hearing, when you approved the president receiving a $400 million gift from the Qataris. You refused to answer that question. You were asked who or what role you may have played, or who played the role in asking that Trump's name be flagged in any of the Epstein documents gathered by the FBI. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman kept the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked whether Holman paid taxes on the $50,000 bribe money. You refused to answer that question. You were asked, did career prosecutors find insufficient evidence to charge James Comey? You refused to answer that question. You were asked, how are military strikes on these boats in the Caribbean legal? And you refused to even answer that question. You were asked,
law degree,
excuse me. You were asked, did you discuss indicting James Comey with the
That's crazy that she would even ask that. Do you have a law degree? Because no, this is not a matter of having a law degree. This is a matter of being a public servant. And these are questions the public would like to know. That's being asked by the public every single day of the week. That's why it's called an oversight hearing. That's why it's held in public. That's why these are public reps, because we all pay their salaries. We pay Pam Bondi's salary. Again, these kind of answers that she's giving should be, as an American citizen, you should feel insulted, because at the end of the day, she's the one she's not really answering to him, because he's a public servant. She's answering to the public. And that's what I'm saying about this. This is like, she doesn't care. Like, she doesn't get the whole thing about being paid for by the taxpayers and how you conduct yourself and how you frame the questions. It's not personal. And she turns it all into, instead of the public business, it's all personal. And that's really the lowest you can do in this kind of situation, you know. So that's pretty sad. But in any case, folks heard Pam Bondi. Folks heard Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, again, like in amnesia world, where he doesn't really know who Ghislaine Maxwell is. Who's Ghislaine Maxwell? I haven't heard that name in a while. What happened to her? I didn't know anything about that. You're going to give her a pardon? I could give her a pardon, or I could not. Who knows? I have to look into it. Right. So he also is not giving clear answers, which is an indication that he's going to give Ghislaine Maxwell a pardon. I think there's a core of MAGA voters that don't care anymore about the Epstein files. They don't care if you lie about the Epstein files. All they care about is, why didn't Joe Biden release them? Okay, that's all they care about now. So, it's going forward as it is. Now, the only new thing that I find is new is, it's not really new, but it is new to, it adds a little bit of dimension to sending out troops, sending out ICE, that they're not paid. They're not going to get paid if this situation doesn't get resolved between the Congress. So they will have to work. They're essential employees. But if the Congress does not come to some sort of negotiation and agreement, they don't get their checks. The last time they were paid, some of them, was the middle of last month, September. So a lot of them are expecting their next check to be on the 15th of October. That's 7 more days from now. And we'll see how that goes. Me, myself, I hope that it stays. I hope that it remains. The shutdown remains. And I think the shutdown is good, especially in this timing. Trump is under a lot of heat. Maxwell is, saying, damn, I'm not going to get heard by the Supreme Court. So there goes that avenue. That won't happen. And the only way I'm going to get out of this jail sentence, which is a decade or so more. The only way I'm going to get out of this is if Trump pardons me. She sees Trump and how he's doing publicly. So she's worried about a pardon before he keels over and dies, basically, because Trump is physically not well. But not only before he keels over and dies, he has to give that pardon before he leaves office. And of course, the whole Epstein scandal looks bad for Elon Musk because he lied about his relations and his contact. It looks bad for Peter Thiel because he has obviously contact now that they're finding out with Epstein. And so they would all wish this to go away, and it's not going away fast. And the only way you can really get it to go away, if there's going to be any chance at all, is to basically get rid of Trump, because he's the one who had the most contact with Epstein from what people know now. So, yeah. But on that note, I'm out, folks. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. Again, me, myself, although I'm a member of the Democratic Party, I vote for ideas and people. I don't vote for party, because why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Who just joins a party and just votes and just says, oh, you're a Democrat, I vote. You're a Democrat, I vote. That doesn't make any sense. If you join a Republican Party and you just only vote and you don't think about what Republicans say, you just vote for them because they say they're Republican, that would be incredibly ignorant. But having said that, I don't see any of these issues as being Republican or Democrat. To me, they seem like citizen issues, taxpayer issues. And, I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. I myself, I'm lucky I don't have to go through this bullshit that happens in the U.S. Although I'm an American citizen, born and raised, and my family on both sides is from the colonial period, as I let people know out here, I actually live in a country that has universal health care and has for a generation or so, 2 generations, 3, right? I work and also universal education, meaning you go to school anytime you feel like it, as long as you have the basic requirement, right, to enter into that education. It's paid for. It's free, and you get a stipend to do that. So, although it's a capitalistic country, the economy is free, open market. This collective bargaining when it comes to healthcare and education is what, people stand on over here in the EU pretty much. Whereas the U.S. is the only NATO nation that pretty much, one of 2 that doesn't do that, right? And you could see a lot of crime tends to also be in that situation. A lot of, crime tends to be in situations, and more prisons tend to be in situations where healthcare and education are a privilege and not just a right. So on that note, I'm going to leave y'all today. I'll be out. I'll catch up with everybody soon. Appreciate y'all. And be good. I hope everything turns out well. Let's see. Peace. Release the Epstein files. Yo, I still want the Epstein files to be released. That's the best thing for the country. Hey, let's see what people think. 1.
They want war. Crime babies looking for food. Starvation, the recipe. People subdued. When the people you trust got it in for you. Deceit is the word of the day in every crew. Don't let it go. It's from the days of old. Time is up, but some still do not know. Can I make up my mind? Is it worth the dime? Do I have to take a minute just to make it mine? Life's never fair, but don't listen to the TV. Go out and take a listen to the streets with the people in the slums and the homeless bums with degrees and degrees sitting under a tree. It's not easy in the world for the poor man, the one that brought you to reality. See, they don't want you to know about the black sheep, leaving 7 roads to the 12 families all around the globe with an ancient code. Is it really asking a lot to say a death old? Cause we sitting on the earth looking back at extinct, and I'm standing on some ground that's about to sink. I ain't scared for a minute, I ain't about to blink, but I documented for the world what I see and think. Feel we on the call and up and we on the break. All Congress gonna do is waste paper and ink. Vote or die. You voted and you'll die. You can can have it both ways, can't say it's a lie. You can march all you want, but they playing you wrong. They only understand war, it's the same old song. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. Like a lotus coming out of the mud with colors, I create envy in those with power but jealous. I unify the poor with my song, the hell with the others. Descended the way they treat indigenous brothers, cause I understand we link forever. They try to hate us even though that we keep it together. I'm not talking about controlling the air or the weather. I'm talking about maintaining the truth, the high endeavor. A rebel drops bombs in the midst of trouble. The free world counterattack and now there's double. But nature gets the shit in the way to settle. If you stop the machines for a minute you might hear, but they won't cause the TV's whisper in the ear. And capitalism has eyes that don't tear, and they cloud up and get crazy and won't stare. And like an ab, it's hard to get an ass to listen. Living like this is like living in prison. It's hard to keep hope when you're living in prison. The spiritual thoughts, so yes, the mental prison. The outside, yes, it's got to get through. Something's gotta die, so something here can live. Your life is nothing if you got nothing to give. Keeping the spiritual, yes, disguised as religion. Controlling your mind, the mental prison. They want war, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the war. War, all they really want is a war. Diversionary tactic to make the big score. The diamonds in the morning, you know they want more, but they wanna keep you low, so they manifest the